Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr.
Present.
Kubicki?
Present.
Ms. Hughes?
Present.
Okay, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I make a motion for the approval and the signing of the meeting minutes, the regular meeting minutes of June 13, 2023. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Okay, and as always, we move on to open forum. Have anybody signed in this for open forum?
I don't have the sign-in sheet on me.
It's over
I'm so
there.
sorry.
I was the only one that
Okay.
signed in.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
We'll wait for her to get back and.
Thank you. And, oh, I'm sorry, Jack.
Yes.
You're up.
Jack, just for the record.
Jack Fuchs, 7700 Ashley View Drive.
As always.
Cincinnati, Ohio, 45227.
Thank you.
And the questions that I have all relate directly or indirectly to the aggregation program. And the electric aggregation has, from when it was adopted originally, just been a great success for the township. I mean, you look at the webpage, you can see how it was 5.18 cents per kilowatt hour going into 2020. It was reduced to 4.93 cents per kilowatt hour through, I think, this month. But it's going up to 7.22 cents per kilowatt hour on energy, harbor energy. And not making a big deal about the fact that that's the old First Energy subsidiary that was weird. That really doesn't strike me as relevant to anything because the company's been sold to Vistra down in Texas and has different management, et cetera. What does bother me is that the notice that went out, I'm sure it complies with all law. It was in the Energy Harbor mailing with the township. I have talked with at least 4 of my neighbors. None of them know that that occurred.
Well, excuse me, what happened?
Carter, Energy Harbor sends out a notice, which it's required to do by the Ohio Administrative Code, PUCO. It tells you this, and it does things like tell you what the rate is, 7.22 cents per kilowatt hour through August of 25. And it tells you various things. And this is the township notice that was packed inside this. And one of my neighbors, actually one of my next door neighbors, went and found it in the recycle bin after he'd thrown it away, because we all throw these things away. I got an electric aggregation thing today that I threw away. The problem which I have with this, and I'm just asking, I had sent some emails. I had pointed out that if you opt out today and opt back in with Energy Harbor is charging 6.88 cents. I'm sorry, I misspoke. 6.78 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's 44 hundredths of a cent. Has there been a renegotiation?
Go ahead and finish all your questions, just 'cause I don't want to go back and forth.
Well, there are a lot of questions I've got. That's part of one.
Okay. And Jack, I guess the thing is, we go out and we hire a broker to go do this. They broker with 9 other communities, not the least of which is Madeira, Indian Hill. Help me out, Melissa, who are some of the other communities partnered in it?
Amberley Village.
Amberley Village. So it's very well respected
Cheviot.
communities. We hire a broker. And I'm going to say this, I know Melissa will disagree. it's never meant to be a monumental, earth-shattering savings. I think Mike Lemon analyzed it one year as about $100 per resident that it saved. So it's been a win for the township residents. We pretty much go along and get along with the other communities and work with the broker to do what's in the best interest of everybody. And Melissa, I think we liken this to like buying your interest rates. You can buy a 7-year adjustable cheaper than you can buy a 30-year fixed, and it varies. So, you have the ability to make the choices of either opting in or out. It keeps Duke honest, and it's been a good program historically. And to go, pick different moments when it's good or better would be like looking at your interest rates, long term. Go ahead.
And I hear what you're saying, and here's what I would say in response. It's about $100 for an average 12,000 kilowatt hour house, which is a generally average.
$100 a year.
$100, actually for 2 years.
Okay.
For the difference between the 6.78 that's today and the 7.22 that was negotiated presumably some months ago. And I say that because I received an email from Ms. Taylor which cited a pre-June Duke rate to compare it to. And $100, it doesn't mean a whole lot to me, although I'm not going to stay with Energy Harbor on this because I can actually lower the rate for a year and I'll pay enough attention to be able to do that, as many people will. And that would save me about $300 a year. The point that I was getting at is, was there ever a meeting where the trustees signed up? I assume there's a contract that involves the township. Did the trustees ever vote on that?
We pass a resolution every
The
time.
residents originally voted on it.
The
whether-
residents originally voted on it.
Yeah.
It's a district.
And it becomes every time. When was the vote held by these trustees on this contract?
I would have to look up the resolution earlier this year or late last year.
I don't remember,
Yeah.
but go ahead. So what?
I tried to find it and I couldn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, it seems to me that you ought to be having a meeting about that, to talk about it, at least have it described to you. It also seems to me that it makes sense to have escalator clauses in the contracts, so that if,
Yeah, what are the other questions? Because we've gone back and forth with this via email, et cetera, and you may not be satisfied with the answers, Jack, but we've spent.
well, I
a lot of
haven't
time.
received the answers
Okay.
on.
Well, we've given you the rates, and I've said to you, we have a partnership where when I say partnership, an understanding with 9 other communities that we go and collectively negotiate the rate. And it's no different than whether it's cable TV, whether it's your hotel rate, if somebody books it for weddings and says, I got a wedding rate and you get a super saver rate or a military rate. I'm not saying you can't beat the system, but it can change, and we give a rate and you have choices, the residents have choices. We volunteer to go do this. I mean, there's a lot of communities that don't do it. And the residents always have a choice to opt in or out. It keeps Duke honest more than anything, and it's never meant to be a historic savings to anybody. So I think we beat this topic up, and let's move on to another topic, please.
Now, let me finish up on the topic.
Okay, go ahead and finish up your
Two
topic,
other
and then let's
points.
move on.
One is, you haven't been saying, your webpage on electric aggregation makes it very clear that the purpose of this is to save money. And it has in the past.
Good,
This year it won't.
okay?
And how do you know you have problems at all? You haven't looked, I suspect, recently at your gas aggregation for the township. Duke right now is charging, what is Duke?
We don't have time for all of this.
I get it.
Duke buys their energy
Right, they're
by the
responsible,
month.
yeah.
So you can randomly pick a month that fits your point, but there could be another month that does not fit your point.
Right.
We purchase on the open market for the lowest rate and lock it in for 2 years, whereas Duke is like an adjustable rate mortgage. Every month Duke goes out and buys what it needs. So any month that you look, it could be up, it could be down. You have to wait until the 2-year period is over of having looked at Duke every month for 2 years and compare it back.
And
So
I-
that's pointing out what Duke's
I urge you
price
to-
right now is
well,
not.
Since David was telling me this is a saving on Duke, so that Duke is being kept honest, it's not.
Okay.
That's my point.
That's an Ohio
And-
legislation matter. That's
and
why they
the-
deregulated energy.
The point that I'm getting at, and I think that the residents of Columbia Township ought to be aware of this, is the aggregated natural gas rate right now is 86.9 cents per centum cubic foot. That's the current rate. Duke's current rate
For the month.
for through October of '24, according to IGS, who
I don't know
has
that far.
this, since I called them. Duke is about 55 cents.
And Jack, you can go to Dick's Sporting Goods and get a free Sports Illustrated prescription for 3 months, and they're gonna charge after. I don't wanna get into this. We have spent a lot of time on this. You've got the general idea of how we do it. We hire an outside expert that bids on behalf of 9 communities. We've done it. That is the process. You have choices. Everybody's got choices. I'm happy that you're making the choices, and you're making informed choices probably as a result of the program we're doing. But we're just not gonna beat this to death. I mean, we go
Well,
on and on and on, back
you were
and forth.
saying that
You
you
could
got-
come in and pick how much we buy staples for this month. I mean, it's just not productive. And Jack, by the way, you come in here every meeting looking to try to catch our guys doing something wrong. You do.
David, that's wrong.
Jack,
That's
stop.
inappropriate.
Jack, it is not inappropriate. It was inappropriate for you to come in last week, and
Mm-hmm.
believe me, I heard from a lot of people, including some of our employees and the residents, when you came in last week and challenged that you took some sort of survey of the demographics of our last event. People were shocked about what you had to say, and people were taken back by it and insulted by it. So you've stepped and crossed the line there. You pushed the line every time. You make little innuendos about, well, I'm sure there's an innocent explanation. Well, I'm sure you guys worked really hard to go get this rate. Well, I'm sure you guys don't invite all the different demographics of the population. You say it at every meeting. And you know what? I'm proud of our staff, and it's my job as the leader of this community to remind them they do a great job and not sit there and listen to your constant criticism of everything they do. If you've got an issue with me, you can call me. I've known you for 30 years. And if you have an issue with me, you can call me. We don't have to come here grandstanding. And if you don't agree with what I have to say, then you can come here and present your case of, you know what, we're a bunch of idiots and we're a bunch of whatever you think of us. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that have worked very hard and work hard and have the best interest of the township in mind, and I just need to remind them of that, to not just sit there and get needled. Heck, when you started this aggregation thing, you sent us a note at Sunday night, and you get on a whim at Sunday night that you do your research, which that's great. You do your research on Sunday night, and on Monday, Melissa comes in to go take on whatever she has to take on for at the time of holiday week, and next day by Tuesday morning, where are my ansers?
No, I
And you know what?
think if you saw it, that's not what I said.
Well, but the bottom line, but Jack, it's your tone, and I wish you would have a more productive and positive tone and ask good questions, and I think you could be a positive influence on us, but we need to do it in a more positive manner rather than insulting the staff and the members and insinuating that people are doing anything other than the best they can do. Okay, and let's leave it at that. Let's move on to the...
No, David,
Okay, all right, I'll give you 30 more seconds, Jack, and we're done.
David, this is inappropriate.
It's not inappropriate.
Yes.
You were inappropriate with what you had to say about our event at the last meeting. Okay?
David,
If you want to apologize
The
for
last
that,
aggregation meeting.
hold on, Jack. You have crossed the line of constantly badgering what we do and how we do it. And I have to say that on behalf of all of our employees, we will be professional, we will listen to you, and I'm happy to listen to any positive things you want to do for moving things forward in a positive direction. But our people work hard at what they do, and they're the best interest of this township of mine. As long as they have that, I'm going to defend them. If you have suggestions of how we could do things better, I'm here to listen and engage the process. But to sit there and listen to everybody get insulted for everything they do is not productive. And it gets old.
David, it gets really old when I see a situation where the gas aggregation is $550
We've explained it to you.
savings.
We've explained it to you.
$550 savings.
We've explained
without an
it. You've said
escalation.
you have said by your own words, it's been a good deal for the township historically. We've volunteered.
electric was.
Okay, well, whatever the case, it's been a net positive, and it
And-
will continue to be the net positive.
Talking about professionalism,
Okay.
Ms. Taylor's
You know what? I'm
email
done.
to-
We're done. We're done, Jack. It's time to
David,
move on.
let me
You-
read
Jack,
the email.
Jack, you
When
can.
I was insulted as a senior and retiree, and no one here spoke out. If I'd been an employee, Ms. Taylor sent me that email, she'd be subject to an age discrimination.
Jack, and by the way,
That's inappropriate.
after you start your trouble, I get harassing emails from anonymous emails about, hey, if you keep going on with Harbor Energy, bad things are gonna happen, from anonymous resources, and I know you are in concert with a lot of those people, whatever the case is.
I don't
it's
know
got-
who you're talking
Okay,
about.
I'm saying to you, it's coincidentally, when you start going back and forth on aggregate energy, I'll read you the email I got. Please stop, in capital letters, shoving Harbor Energy switch down our throats. A BBC complaint will be filed if you don't comply, exclamation point, anonymous. But
I don't know what a
it
BBC complaint
doesn't matter, it's an awful big coincidence, so when you start your stuff, this is what comes. This is the byproduct of it. It needs to stop. Let's have productive conversations
David?
of how we can improve this township. We're done. I'm not gonna turn this into a circus.
Yours
Let's
is a
move on.
common question.
Let's
we
move
hear
on.
from
We'll move on.
retirees.
It's our meeting. We're done. We're done.
Suing on in-
We are done. Jack, we're done.
David,
Okay,
no
we're
problem.
done. All right, let's move over to reports. Let's move on to the fiscal officer report. Ms. Heekin.
Okay. June marks the end of the first half of the 2023 budget year. The general fund ending balance is $3,166,370, which is an increase of 5% from May. Restricted fund ending balance is $6,588,496, which is a decrease of 3% from May. These funds combined total $9,754,866, which is a decrease of 0.5% from May. For the month of June, revenues are 0 and expenses are $338,573. Year-to-date revenues, $3,098,312. Year-to-date expenses, $2,015,961. The first half property tax revenue settlement from Hamilton County occurred in March, and our next semi-annual settlement will occur in August/September. And voter-approved levy revenues do not cover the cost of the township's public services. Business revenues cover more than 80% of the cost of public services in Columbia Township. Thanks to Columbia Township's success in attracting and supporting businesses, we are able to continue to provide our community with exceptional services at a lower cost.
Thank you. Any questions about Ms. Heekin's report?
I don't.
Any comments? Okay, any questions about the road superintendent's report?
No, sir.
Okay, then we move on to the administrator's report with Ms. Taylor.
I'm just going to do a quick verbal report this month because we have a full agenda. Our next two community events are July 29th. The Deer Park Silverton Fire District is hosting a Neighbor Day. And then on Saturday, August 5th, we have our summer concert with Michael Jackson, National Tribute Act. Both of those
That's
are...
when again?
The Neighbor Day at Deer Park Silverton Fire District is July 29th. It's a Saturday. It's a really nice event that they host with us. And then Saturday, August the 5th is our National Band Tribute Summer Concert in partnership with 50 West, the Michael Jackson, bringing Michael Jackson tribute.
And Janet.
And Janet.
Yes,
Up from...
Michael's little sister.
Up from Atlanta. On the Madison Place Firehouse redevelopment, the month's worth of structural repairs on the 1950s structure are complete. It's pending structural inspection. And then we will resubmit the plans to Hamilton County, hopefully for final approval, so that we can go out for bid on the firehouse. In our neighborhoods, the WP Land along the Walton Creek, in the Walton Creek area in the Pear Elm neighborhood, completed installation of the sanitary sewer last week. The first time that this neighborhood will have sanitary sewer in its history. And so that was a huge project completion. And it'll be about a month for MSD to inspect and then accept it. And then some of the residents can begin tying in, and then the sewer will also be available for the 8 new homes that will be constructed after all the utilities are in. Staying in the Walton Creek area, the southbound turn lane, we expect it will be completed by the end of July, and are waiting on an updated schedule for that. Dustin Frazier, our road superintendent, has been lead on that project in terms of oversight and inspection, and then Curtis from Hamilton County Engineers Office has been present. Curtis was pulled off and is working on the unfortunate closure of Ridge Avenue that happened this past Saturday morning. We heard from Hamilton County Engineers Office, contacted us to let us know, because we have so many, even though it's not our road, Ridge is not our road, it's a county road. There are multiple very large utilities in that area as it straddles I-71, so MSD, Greater Cincinnati Waterworks, and ODOT, multiple players. So the Ridge Road collapsed across all lanes in the vicinity of the former Burlington. Looked like a major water trunk collapse. And so there was an emergency road closure. I know that we were talking earlier that we stepped out and worked with the county to ask that we make sure that we have lanes maintained to provide access to the businesses there. It is such a deep project and a complicated project because of all the different utilities in the area. It potentially could be a week or more until it is reopened. And so I know that we reached out on Saturday to Lieutenant Neighbor and Sergeant Reed at Hamilton County Sheriff's Office and said that as people start to settle into a new traffic pattern, if we've realized that we have problems, that we want to try to adjust that as well.
And that whole road closure coincidentally is all in Columbia Township?
It is in Columbia Township, yes.
And but it's a county road?
It's a county road, and it was a regional utility
Got it.
along a state highway. Did we cover everything there?
Yes.
So we're not
Severing
speaking.
ties to the Ridgewood Island.
Severing ties to the Ridgewood Island. And we were fortunate that we have had emails from wonderful Ridgewood residents that have reached out to us over the years, asking questions, identifying issues, or just checking in with us on something. And so we hit every Ridgewood email that we had and asked them to post it. I know Brian Lamar picked it up and put it out on social media as well. And so they've actually been corresponding back and forth with us about, what about this, and this is great, this seems to be an issue. So we're getting kind of on the ground feedback in addition to the county and Dustin being over there trying to help facilitate. So we care, we were on it. It is a complex fix and it is going to be inconvenient, and but we want to make sure our businesses have access. That's our first priority. So thank you, shout out to all of our Ridgewood on the ground, on the scene respondents.
And
Correspondence.
Jordan Avenue over there has a little bitty street that has a few residents live over there, right in the middle of it too.
Yes, we have, I started just going through emails and
Yeah.
doing keyword searches and pulling up people who we had in the area. So I know the Ridgewood neighborhood has a neighborhood
Yes.
circulation, so we knew that
Yeah,
it would happen there as well.
And the information came out really quickly, which was great.
Yeah, and then Hamilton County Engineers Office is putting out information almost on a daily basis with a map that's available on hamiltoncountyengineer.org. It's hceo.org, I think. You can Google it and that will come up. So everybody's, all hands on deck. And let me see if I have anything. That's all I have for today.
Okay. Any questions about the administrator report? Okay. Any questions about the economic development report in addition to the administrator's report? Okay.
Dustin Montgomery was pulled off onto a special project as a result of a grant, and his report will be delayed till next month. I'm sorry, I meant to say that earlier.
Okay, and let's move on with the police report by Lieutenant Neighbor.
Melissa stole my thunder on the Ridge Road closure. I was going to talk about that.
That's all right.
Thunder away.
No news is good news with the police.
Well, other than that topic, the only thing I really have to in addition to that was last month we had the meeting. I had mentioned that Sergeant Reed was put in for a divisional commendation, and she did since receive that.
Oh,
So I
congratulations.
just wanted to remind, for those that weren't here that were watching last month, one of our sergeants did a phenomenal job at starting a program where she was getting a security or anti-theft blocking device for the Kias that through the Kia Corporation she was able to procure 120 Kia steering wheel locks, and they've since they were gone in 2 weeks. Believe it or not, the minute she started the program, they were all gone. So she's trying to get more
Working
from
on
Kia.
more.
And what she was put in for an award for, she helped an elderly woman, and the elderly woman off duty with her own money, she procured and bought a steering wheel analog theft device for this elderly woman, and did it, and that's what she received the award for. So that's it.
Very good.
Any questions about the police report? Okay. That we move on to the Little Miami and Deer Park Silverton Fire District report. And obviously we have Chief Sifke in the audience as well. So hello. Brian Lamar.
The continuing trend of Ms. Taylor stealing the thunder of Neighbor Day, July 29th. I hope to see people there. It was an awesome time last year. I have great pictures of Ms. Hughes, Trustee Hughes, shooting a fire hose. We had an ice cream truck. We had coloring books and fire helmets.
I'm trying to picture this.
Ms. Hughes is ready to put out a fire if called to duty. I saw it myself. But it's a fun day on the 29th from 1 to 4 p.m. A lot of us will be there. And that fire department services a lot of the northern part of the township, near Silverton, Pleasant Ridge, Emberley Village, Norwood, that northern part. But anyone's welcome. Anyone can come and
Yes.
play with a fire truck, and if you're lucky enough to get to control a ladder, so that's the only report. I hope to see everybody there. I tried to sneak up to the ladder last time. And, I continue to see, I don't have a lot to say about Chief Sifke and his team other than I just see them in the community so often, and they're such an amazing crew and do an amazing job. And he unfortunately gave me access to know when all the alerts come so I can try to beat them there. I'm unsuccessful so far, but I appreciate his partnership as well. That's all.
Okay. Any questions about the fire district reports? Okay. We move on to trustee reports. Do we have anything to report? Do you have anything to report?
I just wanted to mention you had talked about the Walton Creek area and the Plainville neighborhood, all the challenges that they're going through right now. So I wanted to acknowledge that. They have construction on both the east side and the west side of Walton Creek, and this is right by you. They have the new lane being built, they have sewer being built, and it is very disruptive. I can't even imagine living there. And I've been over there a few times and talked to them. I know Dustin has and other people have as well. They could not be any pleasant. I expect and would probably deserve to be some people having upset about that. But the people that live right in the middle of it could not be any friendlier. And so that's going to be a beautiful neighborhood, hopefully very soon once it's all completed. And it deserves to be, as we met with that community, you did, as most everyone did.
And many of them are going to get new sewers and get rid of their septic tanks too as a result.
Amazing. So I wanted to acknowledge that they're going through some tough times. That's all I want to mention.
And so is our community. Williamsburg has to drive through that area too, so.
Yeah.
We have some amazing residents in that neighborhood. They've really been troopers. They've held their heads up. We're out there every day. They have our mobile phones. We want to make sure that we take care of them as much as we can, given that everything is happening at once, not by design.
It's only about 20 residents, 25 residents probably around there-ish.
They're just some genuinely wonderful, soulful people in that neighborhood.
Yes.
Hopefully you say the same thing about our neighborhood. Okay, that we move on to communications. Any questions about the communication?
I have a quick thing under communications I just wanted to share with you. We have, this in real life is an 80-page bid packet, but we went live today with the bid for NED Phase 2 for the street tree. The street tree program with 500 new trees was too great to do an install in 1 year. And so we did part of the install last fall through a public bid, and we're going back out for public bid for the remainder of the bid install. So I wanted to remind all of you, the bids will be open for a month, and then we will have a bid opening and select the most responsive bidder. And these are just a few sample pages from the bid packet. I didn't think you'd want to see all 80 pages of the construction specs, but to remind you that when we go out for bid, we have specific requirements for our projects, and then here's an example of how we show the contractors where the segment of the street that we will add street trees on, which neighborhood, where it is in our community, how to zero in on it. You can see the maps, and then each street has markers for where existing trees are located and where new trees will go in. And then there's a street tree planting detail, a list of all of the trees that will be installed. And then when we have a contractor and are getting ready for the install this fall, we'll do what we did last fall, which is put pictures of the trees and some content about each of the trees on the website as well. So I just wanted to mention that to you. And we'll be back before you with emergency legislation to award the bid in about 5 weeks. If it works with the meeting, we will wait for the meeting, but if it does not, we will have to have a special meeting in August.
Okay, that we move on to resolutions.
Okay.
It's off to you.
I'm going to move really quickly. We're running a little bit behind. The first resolution is Resolution 2319, one reading financial budget. To supplement Resolution 2268-22, Columbia Township's annual 2023 annual appropriation amended, and supplemental appropriations 2303, 2304, 2311, and 2314. This is ARPA funds, appropriating ARPA funds for the next phase of the sanitary sewer project, which I will have in a later resolution. You've heard the first and only reading. Are there any questions? May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
The resolution is passed. The next resolution, 2320. The next two resolutions are for property maintenance violations. Resolution 2320, resolution providing for and authorizing repair or securance of insecure buildings or structures and removal of tall grass, weeds, and vines, declaring a nuisance for non-compliant property at 6804 Stewart Road, owned by Joan L. Bickett, dispensing with the second reading and declaring an emergency. This, you can see with the photographs that are included in the violation notices. This property is vacant. There is an owner who is living elsewhere and is not responsive to our notices, and so this is going to be a notice for our crews you're giving the authorization for us to contract with someone to clean this property up. The house is not secure. The vines are growing all over the house, and the property is completely overgrown, in some places past your waist. So that is the first reading. Do you have any questions? No. Okay. May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to invoke the emergency clause?
So moved.
Yes. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Thank you. The next property maintenance code violation is Resolution 2321, Resolution certifying violation abatement expenses at 5812 Monning Place, owned by Al Saleh Amer, 4047 Nillis Road, Hamilton, Ohio, 45014, to the county auditor for assessment, dispensing with the second reading and declaring an emergency. This is a chronic landlord-owned property with high grass and weeds, and we are up to $1,100 in expenses so far, and so you are authorizing me in this legislation to file an assessment on the owner's property due to, for this year, due to be paid next year. So I've had the first reading. Are there any questions? May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second
So
reading?
moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to invoke the emergency clause?
Absolutely.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Thank you.
The final two resolutions are first readings, dispense with the second. Resolution 2322, approving the update of the solid waste management plan of the Hamilton County Solid Waste Management District and dispensing with the second reading. Gage Bradford was here before the board in November as part of the annual 5-year plan by the Southwest Ohio Solid Waste Management District, Solid Waste District, sorry, and presented the updates, and the community, all of the communities that are part of the district are asked to pass a resolution authorizing the plan, and some of the highlights of the plan are attached for you here, and then he went into a pretty good bit of detail when he was here that day. If anyone is interested in having the copy of the full plan, I can provide that. So I've conducted the first reading. Are there any questions? May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Final resolution is Resolution 2323, authorizing financial assistance to the Community Improvement Corporation of Greater Cincinnati under Ohio Revised Code 505.701 to defray expenses related to Columbia Township economic and community development projects, and dispensing with the second reading. As I mentioned earlier, with the completion of the new sanitary sewer in the Pear Elm Orchard neighborhood, we have two prior resolutions that you approved in 2022, authorizing the pledge of, for the first priority of the ARPA infrastructure grant that we received, about $500,000. The first tranche, as they term it, will go toward the neighborhoods in the township that do not have sanitary sewer, that are near a main and could be sewered, and so two of those neighborhoods are in the Walton Creek area. And so this will, this financial assistance will authorize us to reimburse the CIC for a program that will allow the residents of the Pear Elm neighborhood that will be eligible to tap into the new sanitary sewer to defray expenses related to the tap-in and the decommissioning of the old failing septic systems. So this puts the funds, authorizes the funds to go ahead and be moved to be paid out and to the CIC in the same way that we've done NED. Over the next year to 2 years, we will draw down those funds through various grant programs. So do I have any questions on this?
I have a question. I apologize. What are the are there expenses from the homeowners in that area?
There are. There's called public side expenses and private side expenses, and the public side expenses are the actual construction of the sewer laterals. The private side expenses are extending a line from the public sewer to the home. MSD then charges a tap-in fee. And then the septic system, the existing septic system, has to be evaluated by an engineer to determine whether it can be collapsed and decommissioned in place, or it has to be pumped and removed, and so there are expenses there.
Okay.
We have Choice One Engineering that has been assisting and working with us and all of the residents to survey where the existing systems are and about what the estimated cost will be, and have provided all the information toward this next phase of the program. And then we will have probably the 50% or more of that grant still available to then look at the next, come back to the board to have a discussion about, once this project is completed, the next infrastructure project that we'd be able to complete.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I've had the first reading. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second
So
reading?
moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Okay. So we're done with all the resolutions, and now we make a motion to move into executive session to consider an appointment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual, unless the employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing by division of section 121.22 of the revised code. So we're going to move into executive session, and really there's nothing else to cover, so everybody can leave, and we can go ahead and dismiss the meeting here, Elliot, so that you guys can clear up and go as well. I'm going to make a motion to come back out of the executive session here in a second, so we just close this out for the cameras.
We need a second.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Do we need a second to go to session?
Oh, yeah, we can make a motion, we go to executive session. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.